Bad energy. And we've been covering in the past the 9 manifestations of good energy. And so I just want to touch on the inverse of that, which is the manifestations of bad energy. And a good way you could think about this is like fruit. When I was growing up, my grandparents would actually grow fruit in their backyard. So they had raspberry bushes, tomatoes, things like that. And I remember there was this fence that was about a foot tall. And I was a very young child, and I asked my grandparents what the purpose of this very small fence was. And I believe they told me it was to keep out bunny rabbits and critters that would eat the fruit. And so likewise, for us, we need to be able to protect the fruits of our good spirit, the fruits of our good energy. And we talked about those 9 fruits of good energy. And they include compassion, ethics, happiness, serenity, flexibility, generosity, confidence, discipline, and patience. So predictably, the 9 manifestations or the 9 fruits of bad energy would be the exact inverse of those things. And we're going to talk about those tonight. Hatred, corruption, misery, agitation, harshness, cruelty, fear, indiscipline, and impatience. Now, I'll go through those again. But again, I want you to be thinking about fruits like the poisonous berries that we couldn't eat. And our parents would tell us, even though they looked good, don't eat those berries because if you eat those, you'll get sick. So likewise, there are these energetic manifestations of bad energy. And these are poisonous or toxic fruitages that we can manifest in our lives. And so we're going to go through these and talk about what these are, but more importantly, and utilize this information to identify when a person is toxic or bad energy, how to identify our own toxicity and bad energy, and how to overcome it, how to actually fix the bad energy or the toxicity in our own lives so we can get out of bad energy and we can get into feeling compassion and happiness and joy and serenity and confidence. So let's talk about these manifestations of bad energy. As I mentioned, there's going to be 9 of them. So the first one I mentioned was hatred. Hatred is a manifestation of bad energy. Now, to understand, first of all, how the universe works, Albert Einstein and physicists and theorists like him have discovered that everything in the universe is really energy. Everything is energy. So even the chair that you are sitting on or the bed you are laying in is energy. But that is just in mass form. So it's like stored potential energy. And so when we understand that everything is energy, then we start to have a better understanding of the metaphysical aspects of our universe, including our emotions. And it's very important for us to identify and understand how the emotions work. So your emotions are your interactions with the metaphysical, that is the energy realm. The emotions are taking what is metaphysical and putting it into chemical form, which is a physical form in the body. So you're actually feeling the energy. You could say like an energy emotion in the body is the emotions. So how does this work exactly? Well, your mind formulates perceptions of the outside world. Your mind formulates perceptions, and you have your perception of things around you. Based on that perception, the subconscious mind will actually drop chemicals into your system. And so if it perceives that something outside of you that's either happening or that you imagine in the mind will happen, when it perceives that that is a violation of you, or your values, then it's going to give you painful emotions, which is chemicals that create discomfort into your system. When your perception, when your mind perceives that something is beneficial, of benefit, or is aligned with your values, or is beneficial to yourself and what you value, then you're going to get a drop of chemicals as well. But now the chemicals are going to be pleasant chemicals. So now we're experiencing what we say are positive emotions, right? And so everything really comes down to energy. And if we can understand how to navigate energy, then we know how to navigate the universe. So what I'm giving you today are the keys to recognizing the manifestations, or the way bad energy will be manifested in the people you meet, in the situations like the jobs or the groups that you want to get involved with, friend groups, social clubs, the way it's manifesting in your own life. And so that first manifestation that we're talking about is hatred. So hatred, we're looking at that as the opposite of compassion, or the opposite of love really being indifference. So with hatred, with indifference, now we don't care about the suffering of others. With hatred, we may even seek the suffering of others. And so if you know a person that is a hateful person, that is a manifestation that they are bad energy. Corruption. Our second one is corruption. Now we're talking about corruption as being an opposite or an antithesis to being moral, being pure. So we're talking about impurity and amoral decision-making, processing. So this is someone who doesn't have an ethical way or a moral way of processing information and making decisions. They will do things that are clearly to the detriment of others, that are clearly unethical. They're not living according to a higher system of values. And that's corruption. When you see corruption, that's a manifestation of bad energy, either in your life or in the lives of those you're observing it in. The third one is misery. Misery. When we talk about misery, we're talking about bad mood. So someone who's in a bad mood all the time is manifesting that they are really living in bad energy. If you find yourself in misery, or in its cousin, sadness, depression, then it is a manifestation that you are living in bad energy and something that has to change. Misery. The fourth one is agitation. When we talk about agitation, we're really looking at it as the opposite of peace. So whereas a person who lives in good energy is experiencing serenity, a person who is in bad energy is in constant agitation. So if you know someone who is irritable, agitated, who is causing fights and wars and dissension among others, who is agitating to other people or to you, is a manifestation of bad energy. That fifth one there is harshness. Harshness. So when we talk about harshness, what we're referring to there is the opposite of flexibility, the opposite of being, as the young people would say, low key or chill, the opposite of being mild. We're talking about being rigid, inflexible, harsh. Rigidity, inflexibility. When people are rigid and inflexible, when they're harsh in their punishments and their demands, in the way that they interact and the way that they talk to you, it is a manifestation of bad energy. If you find yourself being harsh or rigid, then it is a manifestation that you yourself are living in bad energy. That sixth one is cruelty, which is a close cousin, of course, to harshness. But cruelty now is the opposite of generosity. Generosity stems from kindness. So it's good to be kind, right? But it's awful to be a cruel person, mean, lacking regard for the suffering of others, enjoying the suffering of others, purposely causing the suffering of others. That's cruelty. It can also be just depriving others. So it's that lack of generosity is what you want to think about. Not giving love to your own wife or your own husband, not giving love to the children. There's examples of cruelty, or making it very difficult for them to get any love or approval from you. It's cruel, and it's a manifestation of bad energy if you witness this in a person. Our seventh one is fear, and its cousin being, of course, anxiety. A person who lives in fear is likely to struggle with anxiety. This can cause a person to be easily controlled, because manipulators like to use fear to control you. So it can cause you to become toxic if you live in fear. It gives birth to self-sabotage. Self-sabotage is a person who wants the rubber band to just snap already, so they snap it on themselves, causing hurt and harm for anyone in their peripheral. And all that was because they were so fearful of the pain that they may eventually experience. Fear gives birth to anxiety, lack of trust. So if you're living in distrust, you're fearful, and that's a manifestation of bad energy. It's something that needs to be changed. The eighth one is indiscipline. Indiscipline. What we want to think about is someone who lacks self-control. Lacking self-control, manifestation of bad energy, lacking self-control. The reason why these things are bad is because these things are detrimental. They are to the harm of yourself and or others. They're to your detriment. Can you see how a lack of self-control is to the detriment of yourself? We need to think about the way that you have a relationship with food, the way that you have a relationship with women or men in a sexual manner, the way that you handle your emotions, giving birth to actions that are motivated by anger. These are indiscipline. That's a lack of discipline, a lack of self-control. Indiscipline in a person is a manifestation. It is a fruit of bad energy. It's a poisonous fruit. And our final one is impatience. Impatience, well, we all understand what impatience is. Patience itself means your ability to tolerate suffering or injustice or discomfort without getting angry. When someone's impatient, they just lose it. They can't tolerate any suffering. They can't tolerate any discomfort. They can't tolerate waiting. And they say, I'm impatient. I don't like to wait. Well, what happens if we live in a world of impatient people? Is that really good for us? It's actually poisonous, isn't it? It's a poisonous fruit. So now you know what to look for. When you're analyzing persons in your life, they'll manifest how much good energy or bad energy they have based on the ratio of these different fruitages or produce of their personality. So if you're seeing a lot more joy and happiness and serenity and flexibility and generosity, hey, that's a good sign. But on the inverse, if you're seeing a lack of generosity, but more corruption and harshness and cruelty and hatred and fear, that's a bad sign. So let's be wise in picking our associates, our mates. But what can we do so that we can put up a fence, as it is, to protect our good fruits, What can we do so that we can protect our positive manifestations of good energy in our life and guard against these bad fruits, these detrimental qualities? Well, that's what I'm going to cover right now. So now, how can we make sure that we're able to protect ourselves from these negative fruits and cultivate, like a gardener would cultivate their fruits, their produce? How can we cultivate the produce of good energy in our lives? Well, it all comes down to the matrix, of energy. So when we talk about the matrix, we're talking about the actual origin, the actual birthplace of the energy in your life. Now, you would have to agree that you, as an individual, as a human being, you have a large influence on the energy that you manifest. And so, what creates the energy that you manifest? And some people feel like they actually are attracting energy based on what they're manifesting. But no matter how you view the situation, you are actually deciding upon whether or not you generally live in good energy and are experiencing happiness and patience and discipline and serenity and flexibility, or you are deciding if you live in hatred and misery and agitation and harshness. You actually have the greatest influence over this, more so than any other human on earth. You have the greatest influence on what type of energy you live in. And understand, this is regardless of your physical circumstances. You could be in prison and you can still have ethics, serenity, flexibility, generosity, right? Or you could still be a corrupt, miserable person. And you can be that way living in a mansion or on a beautiful island. So it's not your physical circumstances that determine what your energy will be. You could be in a war-torn country. You could be poor financially, and you can still have compassion, ethics, happiness, serenity, flexibility, confidence. So if it's not the physical that determines your energy, what determines it? Well, you create it in the matrix. So what's the matrix of our energy? It is the mind. The mind is the matrix of the energy that you create. If you're noticing, by what we've discussed so far, that your life is majority bad energy, it's because of what you're creating in the matrix of energy, which is your mind. It's because of the thoughts. It's because of the thoughts that you entertain. What are thoughts? Thoughts themselves are forms of energy, are they not? Because you can't see a thought, you can't hold it or just hand it to someone, but it is something. A thought is something, and it's very powerful. Every thought carries a charge. It's one way you could look at it, either positive or negative. For the purpose of our discussion, a positive thought is a thought that's going to be beneficial, that will build up, that will add to you and your values. It will align with the values. A negative thought is one that will take away, that will detract, that will destroy. It is a detrimental thought. Memorize that. You can have two types of thoughts. The thought will either be beneficial, that is positive, or it will be detrimental, that is negative. Now, how are your thoughts? It's time for us to take inventory of our own thinking. What does the mind of a person who lives in bad energy, what are they creating in their mind? Well, their thoughts will sound something like, I'm not good enough. I'm a failure. I'll never be able to do this. No one likes me. I'm not attractive enough. I'm too fat. I'm too skinny. I'm too ugly. I'm not smart enough. I'm not talented enough. I'll never be successful. Nothing good ever happens to me. I'm always going to be alone. It's all my fault. What is the point? I'm such a burden to others. I'm not worthy of love. I'll never be happy. I'm not interesting enough. I'm not important. I'm always going to be stuck in this situation. I can't. I don't deserve to be happy. I'm never going to be able to change. You get the point, right? It's thoughts like those. Do any of those types of thoughts sound familiar? Well, hopefully you're not thinking any thoughts like that. Because if you are, in the matrix of your mind, you are creating bad energy. And it will give birth to hatred and misery and agitation and fear. So what does the mindset of a person who is creating good energy sound like? Well, that person will make a concerted effort to protect their fruits. How do they protect their confidence and their happiness? How do they protect their patience and their generosity? How do they protect those things? It's by controlling the way they think. It's controlling the way they think. It's not easy to control an emotion, but we do have control over our perceptions. All of the thoughts I gave you are examples of stories that we tell ourselves. We have 100% control over the stories that we tell ourselves. You have it. And I am telling you right now, this is the secret to getting out, to breaking free of the bad energy and all the bad emotions that follow. It is changing the perceptions first and changing the thoughts first. And what will follow is you will have a garden that you are cultivating of good energy that will bring forth good manifestations, good fruits in your life. This is a guarantee. This is a guarantee. It's not a theory. This is how we're made. So how should it sound from now on, moving forward in our mind? Should be saying beneficial thoughts instead of detrimental thoughts. Should be protecting our good energy. Should be saying to ourselves, I am good enough. It's a beneficial thought. It's a thought that builds up the self. Should be saying, I'm a success. We should be saying, I can do this. It is possible. I could probably do this. We should be saying, I'm a likable person. I'm a likable person. Most people do like me once they get to know me. We should be saying, I am attractive. I believe that I am attractive. I have attractive qualities. We should be saying, I'm beautiful. I'm smart enough. I'm good enough. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. I am not to blame. I have a purpose. I have a purpose. I will accomplish my goals. I will focus on my purpose. I'm not a burden to others. I am a blessing. I am a blessing to others. I am worthy of love and respect. I will be happy. I am happy. I am interesting. I am enough just as I am. I am important. I am important. I'm not always going to be stuck in this situation. I'm going to find a way out. I believe it's possible. I deserve all the best. I have the ability to change. Every human does. Do you see the difference in what it produces? And some say, well, hey, what if we don't believe that? What if that's a lie? Well, the reality is when you say things like, I'm not lovable, that's a lie as well, if not more so than I am lovable. The reality is you're telling yourself a story when you have negative thinking. So if you're going to tell yourself a story, why not make it a beneficial one? We all have to have thoughts. If you're going to have thoughts, why not make the thoughts that you have beneficial to yourself and to your future so that you can live a happier, more successful life? Don't worry about, well, I don't believe it. When you're dealing with a child and the child shows you a picture that they drew, you don't look at the picture and say, it's kind of mid and toss it back at them. Because then everyone will say, wow, you meanie, you are so cruel. How could you talk to a child like that? They showed you this picture. And then you say, well, I don't want to say anything that's not true. You see how ridiculous that is? I just wanted to keep it real. I wanted to say what was true. No. You tell the child what's beneficial for the child. Great job on the picture. That's what you say to every child every time they show you a picture. You say, great, this is a wonderful picture. I'm going to put this up on the refrigerator. That's what you say, right? Not, well, hey, I'm just being honest, right? Because we're protecting the child's energy. We understand it with the child, understand it for yourself, because you have an inner child to care for. So care for that inner child by protecting that energy, by having positive thoughts, by creating positive thoughts. So I know that we get into situations and the situations seem to throw us off. So we got to practice, right? Because if you're starting a new job, if you were someone who was prone to negative thinking, which it just comes from your trauma response, it was a way that you learned to protect yourself from getting hurt again. I'll just decide that everything's bad and I'm bad. And then that way nobody can broadside me. But it was a detrimental course for the rest of your life to go with that route. So now we have to change that. So when you get into situations, you have to learn to view the situation from the positive perspective. Because just like a coin, there's two sides to everything. There's two sides to everything. So there's other ways to look at your situation. If you're starting a new job, if you're moving to a new city or a new country, if you're meeting new people, if you're trying a new activity or a new hobby, if you made a mistake, if you're being criticized or receiving negative feedback, can you see how a negative thinking person will create negative thoughts about those things? And they say, oh, a new job, man, I like my old job. Oh, I wish I could have that back. And they're negative about the new job. These people aren't as good. Or a new city, a new country. Oh, no, I'm not going to have this. I'm not going to have that. And so they're thinking these detrimental thoughts about these situations. What we need to do is to practice reframing the situation as a positive thought, right? Can we do this all the time? Yes, for the most part, yeah. It doesn't mean 100% of our thoughts need to be sunshine and rainbows, but you got to keep 80% beneficial thinking, positive thinking, 80%. It's actually more like 85% to be exact. Needs to be positive beneficial thinking. And only 15% can be negative critical thinking. So let's keep the ratio proper, right? And do I use this in my own life? Absolutely. It's not that I'm not experiencing traumas. It's not that I don't live on the same earth. Like I haven't been accused and cheated and scammed and hurt and robbed so many times and attacked. I experienced these things as well. Abuse, rejection, but it's the way we frame it. If someone came up to me and punched me in my face, I'm not going to say, "Oh my God, I'm such a loser. Why me? Bad things always happen to me. I can't believe it." No, I'm going to say, "Oh wow, of all the people, he saw me as a threat. I must be a strong masculine presence. It didn't hurt as bad as I thought it might. At least I'm not fatally injured. Is that all he's got? I'm glad he didn't hit me in one of my vital organs." And why am I thinking like that? Well, you see, by me formulating those thoughts in my mind, I am protecting my confidence, my compassion, my happiness, my serenity, right? When you go into the woe is me trip, then you're falling into the misery and the agitation and the fearfulness, right? So we have to create thoughts in every situation that are going to be beneficial, because your energy, it doesn't depend on your situation. It's not what's happening to you. It's how you're choosing to frame it. So let's practice together. Let's pretend you're starting a new job. How can we frame that in the positive instead of the negative? You're starting a new job. You might say, "All right, this is amazing, a new opportunity, a new beginning. It's going to be more money than last time or better people than last time." Find that thing that you can focus on that's going to be better to your benefit. What if we're moving to a new city or a new country? All right, I'm glad I'm not going to die in my own hometown. I'm glad I'm moving on and moving forward. I'm so proud of myself for reaching out, for branching out. What if we're starting a new activity or a new hobby? Hey, I bet I'm going to make friends quick. I bet I could learn this very quickly. I'm looking forward to doing this. This is an expression of my freedom, my individuality. This is going to be fun. What if you make a mistake? What if you make a mistake? How can you be positive in your thinking if you make a mistake? I can think in a way that's beneficial to yourself. Oh, I'm glad I got this mistake out of the way, because I know that failures are a part of the path to success. Oh, that was a good learning opportunity. I learned a lot from that one. I'm going to try my best to make sure that doesn't happen again. Oh, well, at least I didn't die from it. What if you're being criticized, receiving negative feedback? Maybe they have some points there. Maybe they have some points there. They're a little harsh in their delivery, but I could probably make myself better. I could utilize what they just told me to actually make myself better. So I'm going to use this to my advantage. Thank you for your feedback. I like that people can criticize me, because then that means they feel comfortable talking to me. And I want to live in a world with diverse opinions. What about if you're facing a challenge or an obstacle? Things are getting tough. Hey, this is an opportunity for me to show what I'm made of. What if you have to change plans? You had everything planned out, and then something goes wrong. This is an opportunity for me to manifest flexibility. What if you have to adapt to a new situation? This is an opportunity for me to manifest adaptability. I got this. I can do it. What if you're stuck in a long line or in a traffic jam? How can you think positively? How about, I'm happy to live in a big city, and all these other people and all these cars are what are keeping this infrastructure running. And I'm glad, because I don't eat at all these restaurants, but I'm glad I have the option to eat there when I want to. And all these people, they're the key to that. This is an opportunity for me to manifest patience. I can get other things done. I can listen to podcasts. I can work on my phone. What if being What if you're alone? You come home, you're by yourself. You don't have any plans. It's Friday, Saturday night. You got no plans. Nobody's calling you, no text messages on your phone. How can you think positive? I need serenity in my life. This is an opportunity where no one's going to be looking at me, that I can build myself up, that I can work on my purpose, or that I can just wear my PJs and binge on my favorite shows. I'm looking forward to it. A little peace and a little serenity and privacy. What if you're getting older? How can we think positively, beneficially about getting older? Oh, good, I'm getting wiser. I'm getting wiser. That's good. I'll only get richer with time. But if you have to eat healthy, exercise regularly, this is amazing. I'm so happy to be alive. I have the ability to make a change in my life. I have the ability to make a change, to be better. I'm going to be my best self. I'm going to optimize my usage of my physical body. What about forgiving yourself or others for past mistakes? What if you find yourself in a situation where you need to forgive yourself for things that you've done in the past? Instead of focusing on the mistake and everything you did wrong and how bad it was, or focusing on what they did wrong and how unfair it is that they get away with it, you focus on the benefits of moving forward and forgiving, which is to let go. When you forgive yourself, you will allow yourself to grow. And when you condemn yourself, you hold yourself back. And so your thoughts are, I learned from those mistakes. Now I'm going to be better than ever. Every hero and every hero story gets better after they made mistakes. And this is my hero's journey. We have to forgive others. We remember it's not that I'm letting them get away with it. I'm letting myself get away from it. I'm moving on. Why is it so important that we control our thinking like that? Does that really work? What about the way I feel? When we let the way we feel influence the thoughts we think, we're doing it backwards, and we will live in bad energy. Instead, we need to utilize the presence of the conscious self to stop and meditate and to purposely conjure, to purposely create beneficial thoughts, and then focus, meditate, pause, and digest those beneficial thoughts. As a result, your subconscious mind, which is the brain, will release the chemicals into the body. And the chemicals of the beneficial thoughts will be oxytocin, serotonin. You'll feel a greater sense of well-being and connectedness. And then it will cycle into itself, because it then becomes easier to think positively when we're feeling positively. So embrace beneficial thoughts. Seek beneficial thoughts. Conjure them in the matrix of the mind, because everything is energy. And you want the fruits of your energy to be good.